Hi guys, today I'm talking about aliens, and today I want to talk a lot about not just aliens, but the moon. So basically, the moon was first discovered by, and most people think it was discovered by Gilo, but no, it was actually discovered by, his name is hard to say, and it was Thomas Hart. He made the first recorded observation of the moon through a telescope a month before Gilo did on July 1609. He did in 1506. And that was a long time ago. And they found the moon, and I also saw it was Gilo, because it always says in books that Gilo was the first one who thought the Earth was round, and he also made a telescope and looked and saw the moon and Venus and Jupiter and all that. But it was actually Thomas Hart who did not find all these planets, only the moon. A month. And this is what's funny. A month before he did. So a month later, I found the moon! What about that guy? Why did that guy not take the credit and fight him? I don't get it. And I also want to talk, and I'm also talking about aliens. So basically, that's who discovered the moon, but you must be thinking, why are you talking about the moon? Because the moon was discovered in 1609, in 1560, but the first people to not discover the moon, but to think it was their god, was Greece and the Romans. Both of them called them a different name. So the Greeks, Selene by the Greeks and Luna by the Romans. And both of them were goddesses, but they're actually not gods. They were in ancient Greece and ancient Roman. So I'm not being mean, that was ancient. So that I told you it was ancient, so no one blames me. But you're being rude to our god. And you must be thinking, but so what? That's the name. Well then, when the moon was discovered, after that, aliens started coming up in the 90s. I think it was in the 90s or 80s. I'm not sure. But then people started going crazy. There's something. What is that in the sky? And I think in the 90s or 80s, because at that time, I think there were cameras. And a lot of people would take pictures and then show off and say, "Hey, look, it's an alien." And they were like, I don't know why the police or the army would not, they literally act like if there was an emergency. Because I don't get why, but they would act like an emergency. So then aliens started actually appearing in the 90s or 80s, and people were going crazy. And then I think later in the 90s, people started making comics. Like, I think it was mostly in the 90s. People started making comics and all that. And I think that was they started doing all that after World War II, because space and the moon and all of that wasn't actually not popular before the World War II. So because before World War II, the world was real different. Like, technology wasn't important. Much of it was kind of trash to them. But then when World War II broke out, people started noticing that science and all that, like science, not just science, technology, coding, all that, they started actually getting a purpose in life. Like, people started trying to make computers. Like, before, no one actually noticed, like, scientists were kind of low. Like, no one really, they weren't that bright. Like, but then in World War II, it kind of was not nice. It was kind of helpful, because then scientists got like a they got to show, like, people showed the scientists, because scientists started, like, people started coming to scientists much, and also chess players. Like, I don't know why chess players, because if you search every person who was in World War II, it was also chess, but chess players actually were kind of helpful, but not that important. Even still now, they're not that important. But they were kind of helpful there because they also needed code breakers. So basically, that if it weren't for World War II, we would not have computers or iPads or stuff like that. Because before World War II, computers weren't that important. Like, literally, before World War II, no one thought of making a computer. Because, like, a lot of people had an idea, how about we make a paper? Because I think someone had an idea of putting a paper, and then it has an infinite paper, and it won't keep writing a letter. And then someone had the idea of making a computer, but that wasn't until World War II when they started making the computer come to life, because then people started making inventions like a program, like a code breaker where you can just write messages and someone would need to break your code. And it was all that was just because of World War II. Like, submarines were being built, airplanes, even cars. Like, cars weren't important, airplanes were important. Nothing was important before World War II. Like, what was important was basically just food, and I think they would not give you that much. Everything was quite cheap before World War II. Like, World War II was the corona, because it started making money important. Because in corona, everything rised. Well, nothing really rised. Money was just, they paid you more. So basically, scientists actually got in the spotlight, because there used to be no scientists. Like, computers, and I don't know why I keep repeating it, but technology wasn't important back then, and there was actually no technology. So, you must be thinking, now we know World War II, now come to the alien part. Well, I want to tell you about the alien part, but aliens were actually started popping up, I think, before World War II, but no one really cared, and then after World War II, people started then space started, because aliens weren't really thought of until space started. So after World War II, the Cold War started between Russia and America, where there were rockets and all that. And it wasn't really kind of that bad. It was like, I think there was a little fighting, because I think there was. I'm not sure if there was a little fighting. I think not, and I think yes. Actually, no fighting, because they almost were gonna fight, but actually, instead they wanted the challenge, who can become the best at space, and NASA opened up, and then Russians started making all that, and then I think in the 2000s or something, Elon Musk's made SpaceX, and then not in the 2000s, but in the 90s, after the Cold War, but in space, after, like, the launch on Apollo, everyone started thinking about aliens and how it could change our lives. And then you see the news, there's so much alien stuff and space and all that. So basically, aliens weren't thought of. Like, if you lived in, I think in 1945 it ended, but before World War II, then you basically would not have technology. You would basically, and I don't know how children would entertain themselves, because basically, I don't know what I would do if I did not have technology. I think basically children did not have technology when they were born, so they always thought, what's the point? They can entertain themselves, but now I think they would play sports, because now we have apartments and all that. So I think there was not really grass, but now there's grass, so that's good enough. But before World War II, not a lot of people entertained themselves. So World War II had some negatives and positives. And now let's get to the alien part. So, when I said earlier there's a bunch of history about the moon? Well, that was actually up to the point, because then in Roman and Greek, when they started thinking, we have so much gods. Like, we have gods for everything. We have for fishing, for eating, for everything. It's basically like you say, please, Lord, help me. And then you're saying, for everything, Lord, help me. So then they started thinking, we don't need all these gods. We only could have just one god. So then they started thinking about space and all that and astronomy. And then in 60, like after BC's, like when the BC ended, they started getting all of the space. Then Gilo said the Earth was round, and then he got dragged in jail and got killed. And so that's basically the history of aliens. And if you want a part 2, then please like the video and watch it. So bye, and please watch it like 1 million times, please. It'll help me so much. So please help me, and I will make a part 2 if I get 1 million likes or watches on this video. So bye.